status of Covid-19. A lot of people are aware of this document. It was posted by the government on or around the 20th, 21st of March. As of the 19th of March 2020, Covid-19 is no longer considered to be a high consequence infectious disease. This decision was made by the ACDP, Advisory Committee for Dangerous Pathogens. This statement is incorrect. The 19th of March was the date that the coronavirus bill was presented to Parliament by Matt Hancock. The decision by the ACDP was actually made on the 13th of March. Here are the minutes of that meeting. 13th of March, 11 till 12 a.m. A teleconference. The minutes of the meeting. The chairman is Professor Tom Evans. There are some invitees from the Department of Transport. Apologies received from, amongst others, Neil Ferguson. He sat on this committee. Quite a short meeting. At the end of it, the action was for the ACDP chair to formally write to the Department of Health and Social Care to inform of the ACDP's position to declassify Covid-19 as an HCID. Here is the letter, sent on the same day. 13th of March. I'm writing as the chair of the Advisory Committee on Dangerous Pathogens. The committee discussed today the classification of Covid-19 as a high consequence infectious disease. The unanimous view of the committee was that this infection should not be classified as an HCID, not in capital letters. Another meeting was occurring on that day. That meeting was the meeting of Nervtag, 13th of March, 11 till 12:30. Again, a tele-meeting. New and Emerging Respiratory Virus Threats Advisory Group. Chairman is Peter Horby, who was interviewed the other week on the Andrew Marr show. Of the members present was a guy called Jim McMenamin, JMN, and from the Department of Health Social Care, Deputy Chief Medical Officer Jonathan Van Tam. Apologies from Neil Ferguson. He gets around a bit, doesn't he? Anyway, towards the end of the meeting, Jonathan Van Tam must have spoken to Tom Evans, who relayed to him their decision to downgrade the virus. If I can find it. They had discussed in the meeting itself that they were concerned about the ACDP making the wrong decision. 210. DHSC noted they are moving towards FRSM over FFP3, whatever that is. Members discussed the argument for the reclassification of Covid-19 from a high consequence infectious disease by the Advisory Committee on Dangerous Pathogens. Jonathan Van Tam agreed to discuss this issue with Professor Tom Evans, with the recommendation from Nervtag that classification as an HCID needs to be urgently reconsidered. GMN provided an update where JVT had spoken with Professor Tom Evans, who advised that the HCID status was discussed at the ACDP meeting, and the committee were unanimous in supporting the declassification of Covid-19. So there you have it. Obviously something they didn't want to hear. Now, another meeting that was taking place that day was the SAGE meeting. There's no times on this, but probably held around about the same time. The attendees, all the usual suspects: Patrick Vallance, Chris Whitty, Jonathan Van Tam, and Neil Ferguson. So Van Town was involved in 2 meetings at the same time. This man can multitask. Neil Ferguson, there you go. Another observer was Ben Warner. That's an interesting character. That's where the AI comes into all this. Now, I've been through these minutes and subsequent minutes, and basically they didn't discuss the ACDP at all. So they were not allowed to know about the decision made by the ACDP. I think the reason for that was it was something they didn't want to hear, and the ACDP then lent upon, because this is their subsequent meeting on the 1st of April, and again some of us usual people on the committee, but this time there's no Neil Ferguson mentioned. Now this would have been after his little he got caught out with his girlfriend, and he had to resign from all his committees, although I think he's still very heavily involved in this. But basically, when any meetings I've ever been to, the first thing you do is you sign off the minutes from the previous meeting, and there's no mention of that at all in this. No mention at all of the previous meeting. They did discuss, they had a woman called Dr. Helen Roberts on there from DEFRA, the chair of HARES, and they were discussing how what risks were posed to animals, whether animals could transmit the virus, particularly ferrets. So there you have it. Department of Health and Social Care have basically lied about the date the decision was made and subsequently covered it all up. Now I've passed this information on to my MP, various other MPs, various other interested parties. The one thing that concerns me the most is I've been trying desperately to get this across to the UK column, and they have not responded to a single communication from me. Now I would have thought they would have bitten the hand off for this information. What I think is happening here is that the alternative media that are reporting on the virus are basically having their hands tied behind their back. Something's going on where they're allowed to report on certain things, but not all things. And I think I know the reason why. I'll report on that in a subsequent video. Enjoy.